This question is, how would I address a smaller sample volume for a blood test, such as a take-home test for an HIV? And so this is often considered like the holy grail of all types of tests when you're dealing with small volumes like that. And because you're dealing with small volumes, you need to probably have to work with a microfluidic device for this type of sample processing, because the volumes that you required for working with test strips are much higher and so forth with all the with that kind of sample pad material. So you have your finger, and you collect your finger stick this way, and you wick up your 30 microliters, 25 to 30 microliters of blood. You know, it'd be nice if you have it all being passive, but you might have to have a visual indicator on that way to make sure that you've done the right amount before you take your finger away. And then from this aspect, then you'll have a blood separation pad that will separate the red blood cells from the plasma. And then out at the end here, you'll have plasma start dispense. And then from here, you're going to have maybe a channel here where you're wicking out the plasma, and you're metering that out. And again, when you're working with different blood types and different people, the amount of plasma is very important to have that. And that's ultimately is the goal of having that out, so that you're not working with very small volumes. And then once you have your plasma separated and reaching to the end here, now we can either work with a dynamic dispensing where it's done with air or some sort of pressure to push out the sample, or it could be done very passively, maybe where it comes out at the end and you have a bead here, and then you introduce a test strip this way, and this will wick off like this. But again, we're dealing with very small volumes, and so you have to make sure that everything is done correctly, especially with with an HIV test. So even though you get a test result from there, you want to be able to trust that the result was done correctly, so you don't have any question about whether you have a false positive or a false negative. And so even though we've tried to design this as passively as possible, where you just add finger stick blood on one end and you let the rest of it done on its own, you really want to have some sort of visual feedback where you can see how much blood you've collected, how much plasma you've dispensed, and that way when you get the test results, you can trust it that it's done correctly. So again, a lot of this, the holy grail is to try to get this done all passively and so forth, and that's great. But in order to actually trust that it's done, you still need to have these visual feedback at every step of the way for something such as important as HIV.